Hi, everybody. It's Daikeem again, Daikeem Lyles, and welcome back to Casting Directors Say What, where each month I spotlight an amazing casting director in this industry, big and small, because remember, a lot of what we do as casting directors is misunderstood, and I hope that this series can shine a light on all the amazing, hardworking casting directors who always help bring others' beautiful dreams and projects to light and to reality. And today I have an amazing person. I'd like her to introduce yourself. Tell us your name.
Hi, everyone. I am Rachel Reiss. I am a casting director. I'm based in New York, but cast all over. I'm a casting director with Liz Lewis Casting Partners, and I cast a little bit of everything. I cast animation, voiceover, podcasts, film, TV commercials. I think that's about it. And I'm also on the board of directors for the Casting Society.
And she works really hard and does an amazing work. And let me just say thank you for all your hard work at CSA.
Thank you.
So let's get started with our fun rapid questions. All right, my first standard question for all casting directors. Rachel, tell us how you got started in casting.
Yeah, so I was a total theater nerd. Went to a performing arts high school, went to a performing arts camp, grew up in New Jersey, so not far from the city. So it was like a big night out if I got to go into the big city and go see a show. So I always loved entertainment, but my parents were lawyers. So I always had this logical side of my brain that wanted to put together the pieces. So I started going the theater route in high school and college, and then my freshman year, I was looking through all my playbills. I didn't want to work at 9 West like I did the summer before. And I saw casting by. I just picked up the phone, called the office, and was like, hey, do you need summer help? And that ended up being the Telsey office. So I helped them with Broadway and film, and continued to do that with them for a while. And then was like, oh, I think I found what I am made to do.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I remember my retail days too. I had that point in my life where I was just like, I'm not going to work another retail job again unless I'm about to be homeless. Because there was one section of downtown in the Village where me and my friend, we worked about every shoe store. And I was like, I can't anymore with shoes.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great, though, no, hearing your story, because a lot of us, most of us start as interns and you just seem to jump right into it, right?
I did start as an intern, but that quickly kind of progressed. And then just to not go back to retail for too long, but it made me laugh because this will show you how like 90s retail I was in. I also worked at a tanning salon that was also an easy video.
Oh,
and
wow.
This is coming from like a pale redheaded girl who's never been tanning even after that experience.
Oh my God. So after your tan, yes, and I'd like to rent Jaws 1 and 2. Just cut.
Yeah. Very New Jersey. Very New Jersey.
Now, let me, now you kind of hinted on this a little bit, but why casting? What about this side of the industry do you love and keeps you involved and working in this side of the industry?
Yeah, so as I said, I always loved entertainment, but I wasn't getting the gratification from being on stage as much as I saw, my acting peers. So what I found that I really love about casting is the mediation process, as like unsexy as that sounds. Like I was always in my family with my friends group. I was always the person who was like translating and buffering and mediating. And that's so much of what casting is. Like I am hearing the vision of the writer, the director, the producer, all of whom probably have different ideas of what they're seeing in their head. So I really love hearing them out, talking them through it. Why do they feel certain ways? And then finding these solutions that touch on all of those things and bringing people to a consensus.
It's like creative problem solving. That's just always so exciting. Even when I'm going into a studio and I'm like, okay, how are we going to stage this so we can get what we need from the actors and still be use our time efficiently and make sure the client is happy and make sure everybody has fun. Like it's exciting sort of playing around with that newness every day, right? When you walk in.
And being like the translator, like being able to talk in actor language so that I'm getting what I need from the actors, but then changing to producer language when I'm trying to guide them in a certain direction. So it's fun to kind of like immerse yourself in the different worlds and languages and vocabularies.
Now, the industry has changed a lot, very quickly once the pandemic happened. What do you think new actors should be doing now to get started in the industry?
I made myself some notes, so let's see
Yeah.
what I've well, first of all, I would say, especially in this digital world that we are living in, make your own work. I mean, I used to say that pre-COVID, but it was a little harder to do so. Now, making your own work could literally just be opening up a Zoom window, pressing record, and doing a scene you really love, and then posting that on YouTube and sending casting directors, like, hey, just did this piece I'm really proud of. Check it out whenever you have the time. Like, that is a great way to, one, keep in touch with casting directors, and then two, be showing your skills in a way that doesn't mean you're spending money on sets and you have to be hired for a job to have something show. So I always say make your own work, and especially now in this digital age. And then, I mean, this is just normal, but networking, like the people you're taking acting class with, the people you are taking acting class from, your mother's friends, daughters, whatever, all of those people are potential people who can help lead you to a job or to an opportunity. And I hate networking, but it is one of those things that just make friends wherever you go.
And it's harder now networking too. I mean, it's maybe starting to, but it's not like it was where you go to mixers and bars and stuff like that. And I'm glad you brought that up because, that's one of my questions about networking that I think actors need to understand a little bit. Like, what type of advice do you have when it comes to networking? Like, one, do you like to be contacted?
Yes, I like to be contacted, but my caveat is when there's news.
Right.
And that's really vague. That could be like, hey, I just taped this thing I'm really excited about, or I just got a call back for Dakeem, or whatever it is, just a little bit less of the like, hey, it's cold outside today, huh? There's certain actors I know who will send me an email every Friday on the dot. And that's lovely, but it gets to a point where it's like, is that someone I want on set with my clients? So it's all about staying in contact in a respectful and thoughtful way.
Yeah, I like that idea. I too have some actors that I was going through my emails to look at how many times a month certain people send me stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, see, that's 3 times in a month. And you got to be careful because you want the person that you're sending stuff to see it. And if you send it too often, they might be like, oh, well, another one's coming next Friday. So, so what you're saying, what gets your attention is when people have something to update you on.
Something to update. And then I also, sorry, my dog is photobombing our Zoom.
Oh, I love
and also I always like to say, do your research. Something that always gets my attention is if someone was like, hey, Rachel, I just watched Super Kitties, a show of mine that just came out and I loved it, would love to be considered for anything you're working on. It just shows that you're not just a blind cold email.
Right.
And I always tell actors, approach casting directors the same way you would any boring HR person. Here's why I want whatever jobs you are working on. I'm doing my research to know who you are. And I think casting directors, as you said, and why you're doing this, are often kind of overlooked as just a gatekeeper and kind of blend into the background. But if you're doing your research on who we are and what kind of work we enjoy doing, and reference that in the email, then that totally stands out.
Rachel, you're so good because all your answers are leading me into other questions that I've had for
Beautiful.
you. What is one misunderstanding about being a casting director that drives you crazy?
Well, I think to keep it timely and what's happening now. And I've heard it a million times as the VP of tech for the Casting Society, is that we are not watching the tapes and we're letting them go into a void and we're just requesting hundreds of tapes.
Wow.
And that
kind of hurts a little bit.
It hurts. It hurts.
Because you
And
guys
it's not
don't
true.
understand. We go, like, they hire us to be selective. If we didn't look at everything and select, then they could just do an open call.
Yeah.
It would feel like an open call.
And like, I'm watching every video, even if that means I'm up till like 3 a.m. Like I'm watching. And like the same thing applies, that we genuinely want you to be the best option and do an amazing job. That hasn't changed. Yes, we probably put out a few more self-tape requests than we did for bringing people into a session, but that's purely because now we have a little more flexibility of when we're watching it. We're not confined to just business hours to watch tapes. So yeah, I think that drives me crazy. Also, the lack of connection and personalization that I know the actors are feeling. We feel that too. I mean, I know you're this way, I'm this way. Like, we got into casting because we like working with people and we like working with actors. And it drives us crazy too that we're not in the room with you. So, I mean, I always try to kind of do office hours or something when I have the resources and ability to do it, where I can still help guide actors and, you know, make that connection. But yeah, I mean, we miss all of that too. I know how the actors are feeling, and, you know, we feel you, I guess, is the redundant
And
way.
let's touch on that a little bit too, because that brings me back to like what your perspective of the current state of the casting industry now. You know, you talked a little bit about what they should do when they're starting to, you know, go down this career path. But once they start, like, what do you think their understanding of how it is now compared to how it used to be back in 2019?
I mean, I think there are obviously cons, which we just talked about with the whole digital casting world, but there are also pros. It's a way more equitable space now. Like, you don't have to be able to afford to live in Manhattan and be able to leave your job at a time's notice to get to an audition downtown. Like, that makes the playing field a lot more fair.
I've seen a lot of in parking lots auditions and self-tapes.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay for parking. You don't have to pay for the subway. I mean, that makes the whole world more equitable, which I'm always for. We also get to see more people. Again, we're not just like blasting it out to the world like everyone's sending a tape, but we do get to see more people than if, you know, in the before times, we only had 2 days of casting and maybe we could only see like 10 people per role. So there are some pros to it. Not all of them are pros. But yeah.
Really think about that new sort of self-tape world that we're in. Still understand, because I think it's definitely a hybrid going forward now, where you need to be prepared for both, you know, self-tapes, but also still understand what it's like to be in an in-person casting too, and how to conduct yourself and stuff like that. And it kind of sucks that you have to also now be a camera person and a sound person, but at the same time, that could be a positive, because then why wouldn't you want to learn more about this industry that I hope you love so much, and that's why you're trying to do it, right?
Yeah.
So now, what realistic advice do you have for, well, no, I already asked you that question. My next question is, what advice would you have for an upcoming casting director? Like, you know, there's no schools for us, and, you know, I stumbled into this as an intern. Like, somebody now who's like, God, I love acting, but there's something about the idea of casting and that side of the industry that's pulling me towards it, but I don't know where to start. I mean, there's no even college course. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, so I have an answer to that. And then you touching on school also made me think of an answer for actors too. But
both.
So I'll start with casting. First of all, I'll say look into Casting Society, and that's not just a shameless plug, but we
Oh.
did create a training and education program. So it's taught by CSA casting directors. Right now it focuses mostly on TV and film, but we are adding like a theater addendum and then hopefully commercials and stuff too. And then once you do the training and education program, you get paired up with a CSA mentor. So that's amazing. If that's something like, you want to be in casting, that's probably the best way to go. If you're kind of like dipping your toes in it and interested in it, but not sure, I always say try to be a reader. It's a little bit harder now in the digital world, but even with your acting friends, because you'll really see the other side of it. And I think even for actors who have been doing this for years and have gone on millions of auditions, they do always walk out of being a reader feeling like they've learned something.
Mhm.
And just trying to, network again with casting directors, because I know I fell into it without guidance. I'm sure you did too. So I think this generation of casting directors, we genuinely want to see our, the people who come after us succeed. And
Yeah.
I know like what CSA is doing, like, I wish I had that when I was trying to
Right?
figure it
I
out.
just wish I knew it, because it would have helped me so much in so many
And
different things when I was starting out.
I mean, even now, I feel like I learned, like, I'll call you or I'll call friends of mine and be like, hey, I'm working on this project. I've never seen this before. Like, have you experienced this?
And that community is really important too, just in general, not just in see, you all actors should be looking for a community, because that also helps with your networking if you're not good at it.
Yeah. And speaking of actors in school and community, one thing I always tell actors, whether they're just starting out or new, is I think a lot of acting schools, not all of them, but a lot of them do a little bit of a disservice to the actors, and they build auditions up as this huge, scary job interview where the stakes are all the way up here. I always tell actors I'm working with to try to flip the switch. Like, let the scary business stuff be the putting together your resume, trying to get an agent, submitting to projects. Once you're in the room, once you're in the audition, that should be the fun part. You
Yeah.
are an actor because you love to act. Now you are acting with someone who hand chose you and genuinely wants you to succeed. Like, let that be fun. And if you have fun in the audition, that's gonna trickle down to the rest of the process. Like, the failures won't feel like heavy failures because you had fun and you learned something.
Yeah.
And the wins will feel even better. So it's actors who really embrace that where I see the difference, and usually their career reflects that.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Rachel, thank you. Now I have a bonus question for you before we go. This is a fun one. What was because the Academy Awards are coming up this month. So I guess I want to keep it open. Just so, what was the last film, show, TV or theater or performance that you saw that you really enjoyed? Or you could just tell me what your best picture pick this year is too.
Best picture pick, I'm actually not sure. I still am making my way through all the nominees.
I got two more to watch.
This, don't judge me for this, but one of the best shows I've seen recently was The Traitors on HBO.
I'd never judge you for that.
I mean, getting Alan Cumming to host was just genius. So well done, whoever did that. In terms of scripted stuff, I just watched the first episode of The Last of Us, so I can't say that yet, but I heard episode 3 is like amazing acting work, so I'm excited.
It's a really good show.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm really excited for Succession to come back. I think that's like a masterclass in acting. So, and Hacks I really liked. I love What We Do in the Shadows.
I love that show brings me so much joy. Nadia, oh my God. I just love her so much. I even love the opening title cards where all her pictures are all deadpan. Like, she's like, please stop taking pictures of me, or I don't want to be here. I just love that stuff. You know what's another good show that I recommend? What? Poker Face.
I haven't started yet. My boyfriend's been wanting to watch it, so we'll
watch the first episode and you'll be like, oh wow, my mom kept telling me to watch it and I was like, oh well, I can't decide right now, and I love Natasha, so let me just watch the first episode. And I was like, Wow, that got me really fast. Let's go on to episode 2. So it's really good.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy yourself.
I
Well,
also love Abbott Elementary. That's
oh
just
yes,
joyful and fun.
isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's I like a lot of stuff that's been coming out is have been so connected to just the state of the world right now. And sometimes I'm like, please don't remind me of what I'm living every day. And like that show is really comforting, you know? Well,
Exactly.
listen, everybody, that's Rachel Reiss. Thank you so much, Rachel.
And this is Banjo.
Hey, Banjo. Hi.
He's like, why'd you wake me up for that?
Right? He's like, I'm resting. I don't want to be on camera. Rachel, thank you so much. How would you like people to stay in contact with you if they want to find you anyways?
Sure. I am on Instagram at Rachel Reiss, I think, but I will double check that. It's a private account, but I friends everyone. Yeah, at Rachel Reiss, and that's REISS. And also email, I'm reachable, rachel@lizlewis.com.
And remember what she said, guys. Don't just be hitting her up saying Happy March, like have a purpose. And thanks, everybody. That was Casting Director Say What for this month. And we'll see you next month with somebody new and interesting.